Hi guys, this is Busco. Welcome back to another video. In case if you haven't watched the video, I posted a video in February regarding about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2021 nominee list, and the inductee list is out. I think it was released this Wednesday, and and to be perfectly honest, I'm not disappointed with this list. Well, there's a few options. Well, I will say that most of these inductees are ones that I think should have gotten in either years ago, or if it's their first time getting nominated, I think they should get in. So the list came out this Wednesday, and I had time to think about what to say for this video because I wanted to follow this video up to the one I made in February about the nominees. So the inductee list came out this Wednesday, and like I said, not really a disappointing list. There were some acts that I wish gotten in and didn't, and I'm a little I am disappointed that they're not in, but more on that later. I'm just going to talk about the inductee list for 2021. So usually, and I think the inductee ceremony is on October 30th of this year. So and usually it would have been in April, but because of COVID, things got screwed up. And the nominee list was in February instead of October usually, and then voting would end in January. But it actually ended in May. They actually extended a week. I don't know why. I think not enough people voted, and they wanted people to vote. But that's the fan ballot. I'll talk about the fan ballot later. But we're just going to talk about the inductees. I'm going to read the list, and I'm going to give you my opinion. So, and I've also talked to people about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I've heard some people saying, don't even bother talking about it, it's irrelevant, in which I kind of agree, but it's kind of cool seeing musical heroes being honored, especially some of my musical heroes, and maybe even your musical heroes being honored. And then they get to perform. Well, it depends, because there have been some of my favorite musical bands that haven't performed, and I'll talk more on that later probably. But here's the inductee list for 2021 for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they inducted 6 instead of 5. I think originally it was 5, but they have 6 people now. So the 6 inductees for for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2021 are Foo Fighters, the Go-Go's, Jay-Z, Carole King, Todd Rundgren, and Tina Turner. So I'm going to give you my opinion on each and every one of them. So Foo Fighters, I'm really glad that the Foo Fighters are in. I think that the Foo Fighters are one of the best '90s bands of all time. I'm a massive Dave Grohl fan too, for that matter, and obviously Dave Grohl is already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame once with Nirvana, being the drummer for Nirvana, and he plays guitar in Foo Fighters. I'm really glad that the Foo Fighters are in because I love a lot of their songs. I love Walk. I love not to be confused with the Pantera song Walk. That's completely different. But Walk, Monkey Wrench, My Hero, Everlong, New Way Home. Basically, the entire Color and the Shape album, because that's one of my favorite albums of all time. I believe it. In fact, it was in my top 100 when I did that premiere video at the end of 2020. But I'm really glad that the Foo Fighters are in. Taylor Hawkins, he's also one of my favorite drummers of all time. Underrated drummer, too, for that matter. But, yeah, I love so many of their songs. And you know what? They're a perfect example of a rock and roll band, as opposed to a few others, which I'll talk about later. Yeah, I'm really glad that Foo Fighters are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is their first time nominated, and they finally got in. So I'm glad that the Foo Fighters are in. The Go-Go's. I'm also glad that the Go-Go's are in, because the Go-Go's are one of the most influential '80s bands for sure, and a famous. They are famous, but one of the more popular new wave bands. And I'm really glad that the Go-Go's are in too, because I actually do like some of their songs. I like, We Got the Beat, Our Lips Are Sealed, Vacation. Those songs, the famous songs that they did in the '80s. But I'm really glad that the Go-Go's got in. And funny thing about Foo Fighters and the Go-Go's, Pat Smear from the Foo Fighters and Charlotte Caffey of the Go-Go's were in a punk band called Germs, and they're both nominated. Well, they're both inducted So they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame together, but with separate bands. Wonder if Germs will get inducted one day. Hey, it's possible. You never know. But I'm really glad that the Go-Go's are in. I also had a documentary out last year. It was around summertime, I think it was released. That was a great documentary. I think that documentary helped. And another documentary was someone else, but we'll get to them later. So I'm glad that the Foo Fighters are in, and I'm glad that the Go-Go's are in. Jay-Z, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really the biggest Jay-Z fan. I do, I understand the appreciation and the influence of Jay-Z. And I'm honestly not, I'm not against rap by any means. I love old school rap like Beastie Boys and Public Enemy, N.W.A., De La Soul, um, Run DMC, LL Cool J, those rap acts like that. Um, and Jay Z's more of that modern rap, I would say. He's more 90s, 2000s rap. He was especially popular in those years. And here's the thing. And I was going to talk about the fan ballot later, and I'm going to talk about it now. For the fan ballot, Jay Z was at the bottom. He was at the bottom of the fan ballot, and he gets inducted. And there were musical acts there were two musical acts in the top five that didn't get inducted, and I'm going to talk about them later. One of them I'm a big fan of, but we'll talk about them later. So Jay Z, you know, personally, LL Cool J was on the list too. I would have inducted LL Cool J before Jay Z, to be honest. I mean, Jay Z was going to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anytime, and rap isn't rock and roll. I understand that, so just why not call it the Music Hall of Fame? We've had rap artists, we've had folk artists, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is very notorious for despising metal and prog. Unfortunately, we need more metal and we need more progressive rock and progressive metal too, for that matter. And yeah, I really think Jay Z. He's an influential rapper. I get it. I'm personally not really the biggest fan, but I understand. But if I was a huge fan of rap, I mean, like I said, I love old school rap, but personally, if I were to look at this list and if I were one of the committees, I would probably say Jay Z could wait a few years later, and then maybe he could get inducted. Because you know what? If it was and I honestly don't know why there's not a rap Hall of Fame. That would make more sense because acts like Jay Z and rap artists that I mentioned, old school, and even rappers today like Kendrick Lamar, he'd probably be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kanye West too, for that matter. Even though I'm not a fan of his music, but Jay Z, I understand the influence. Personally, I don't think he should have gotten in now, but in the future, sure. So that's Jay Z. We finally got Carole King in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm so glad that she's in. And Tapestry, her album Tapestry turned 50 this year. And there are a lot of famous albums that turned 50 this year. Tapestry is one of them. Uh, the Yes album and Fragile, both by Yes. Well, Yes album I think already turned 50. Fragile's going to turn 50 soon. Uh, um, Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones is another one. There's so many. Ram by Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney. Matter of fact, that's going to turn 50, I think, Monday, so I'm going to have to listen to that album on that day. Tarkus by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, that's another one. So yeah, a lot of great albums. And Master of Reality from Black Sabbath, there's a lot of them. I can go on. Who's Next by The Who, Led Zeppelin 4. It's endless. Anyway, off topic. Maybe we can do a 1971 show, but back to Carole King. One of the most influential singers of all time, one of the most influential musicians of all time, one of the best singers of all time. I don't know if I already said that, I probably did, but she should have been in years ago. The fact that she's in now, this late, kind of a letdown, but I guess better late than never, the saying is. But yeah, no, Carole King should have been in. She has so many songs, so many phenomenal songs, and she wrote influential songwriter too, for that matter. So Carole King should have been in a long time ago, but hey, I guess it's good that she's finally in now. So I'm glad that Carole King got in. Todd Rundgren, to be honest, I'm a little surprised that Todd Rundgren got in. I actually do like Todd Rundgren. I like a few songs from him, and as a producer, he's a pretty underrated producer for that matter. You know, he produced famous albums like Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf. I think he produced that. There are many others he produced, but yeah, Todd Rundgren is an underrated musician too, for that matter. And you know, Something Anything is a big album. That's the one with "Hello It's Me," which is a great song. Uh, and Todd Rundgren's a really influential musician, and he's been nominated so many times, countless many times. So I'm honestly, uh, to be honest, I don't know if I'd call myself the biggest Todd Rundgren fan, but I do like a lot of his music. I wouldn't call myself an obsessive Todd Rundgren fan, but I do like a lot of songs and a lot of his music. So I'm glad that Todd Rundgren is in. But I will tell you, he won't even show up because he doesn't care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I will let you know. And Todd Rundgren, he's not. He said, I think he said one time that that if I get inducted, I'm not going to show up. Something like that. I don't even remember what he said, but it was something like that. But I'm glad that Todd Rundgren got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the last one on the list, another one that should have been in years ago, Tina Turner. She's already in with Ike and Tina Turner. That was one of the first inducted acts in the early 80s, or the late 80s, because that's when this whole this whole thing got organized and created. But her solo work, Tina Turner's solo work, I mean, she should have been in years ago, because she was famous with Ike and Tina Turner in the 60s and on, but her solo work is really phenomenal and really influential. So I think she should have gotten in years ago. Uh, so I'm really glad she got in. And also, we were talking about the documentary of the Go-Go's. Tina Turner's documentary, which I think was earlier this year. I watched it. It was another great documentary. The Go-Go's and Tina Turner's documentaries both great. A lot of great music documentaries out there. But yeah, I'm really glad Tina Turner got in. And here's another thing. Will Tina Turner go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland? That's the thing. Will she make a speech? Will she be, because she lives in Switzerland, and that's pretty far away from Cleveland. And also, she's had health issues in the past few years. I think she had some surgery a few years ago or something like that. And she's in her early 80s, I think, so she's getting up there in age, but she's still a very influential and popular musician. So I'm really glad she's in. So Foo Fighters. So let's recap. Foo Fighters, I'm glad they're in. Go-Go's, I'm glad they're in. Jay-Z, I personally think he should have waited a few years later. Carole King, I'm glad she's in. Todd Rundgren, I'm really surprised he got in, but I'm glad he's in. And as for Tina Turner, I'm really glad she's in. And there's other categories. So I have no idea how to pronounce this. Ahmet Ertegun Award. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Clarence Avant was that. He got that one. For Musical Excellence Award, so LL Cool J didn't get inducted, but he's part of the Musical Excellence Award. Billy Preston, the famous keyboard player who played with the Beatles and the Stones, popular in jam bands too. So, that Billy Preston, late great Billy Preston. Speaking of late greats, Randy Rhoads, one of the best guitarists of all time, used Ozzy's guitars for only 2 albums until he tragically passed away in that plane accident. But I think that Randy Rhoads was one of the best guitarists of the 80s, and that guitar solo in Mr. Crowley is awesome, and that guitar riff in Crazy Train, I mean, that's legendary right there. And for Early Influence Award, there's Kraftwerk, Gil Scott-Heron, I think I pronounced that right, Heron, something like that, and Charlie Patton. So, overall, not a disappointing list, but I will say that the fan ballot, I guess, doesn't matter to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, because let me tell you something. Fela Kuti, the multi-instrumentalist, the guy, he passed away somewhere in the 90s. I think he had AIDS or something like that. Very influential. He was the number 2 in the fan ballot. Him and Tina Turner, that was the top 2. There was no stopping them. They were the top 2 for the entire thing. And as for Iron Maiden, which I am incredibly disappointed, they were number 3. Okay, they were number 3 in the fan ballot, and they were an incredibly influential band for a long time. And, well, and here's another thing. They've jokingly, made fun of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They were obviously making jokes about it. And Bruce Dickinson, the lead singer of Iron Maiden, said that he won't even show up. So kind of like with Todd Rundgren, he's probably not going to show up. Todd Rundgren's probably not going to show up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bruce Dickinson won't if Iron Maiden never gets inducted. That may never happen, but I'd love to see them. And, same thing with Judas Priest. They're probably never going to get in, although I'd love to see it. And same thing with many metal band and metal and hard rock bands. Motorhead, they were nominated, but they didn't get inducted. And Lizzie, they were nominated, they didn't get inducted. It's like, what's going on? And there's so many prog bands, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. There's so many other prog bands along the line. But yeah, it's unfortunate that I'd love to see Dream Theater get in, but that's probably never going to happen. They're an incredibly influential band, especially to me. But yeah, you had other bands, and musical acts. So yeah, Fela Kuti and Iron Maiden were high in the list. Matter of fact, the Go-Go's surpassed Carole King, Foo Fighters, and Iron Maiden. So they were originally out of the top 5. They were number 3 in the end. Oh yeah, they were number 3 in the end. Iron Maiden was number 4 in the fan ballot. I apologize for saying that. And Foo Fighters were number 5. This was later on. And then everyone out of the top 5, was rearranging. Mary J. Blige and Kate Bush and New York Dolls, they were pretty low. I honestly didn't think they were going to get in. Other act, Rage Against the Machine, they were in the middle too. Shaka Khan, Dionne Warwick, it was kind of interesting to see the stats, but we can all say, and Carole King was out of the top 5, but I knew she was going to get in either way because Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't rely on the fan ballot, and it's like, then what's the point of having a fan ballot if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just completely neglects that? And Devo was high too. I honestly, I knew Devo wasn't going to get in. I don't know if they'll ever get in. I personally like Devo, but I don't think they're going to get in. Honestly, it's unfortunate though. But yeah, that's really the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee ceremony in a nutshell. October 30th. I don't know if I'll watch it. Maybe I will. Hey, anything could happen. It's this fall, October 30th. Let me know what your opinions are on the inductees in the comments below. Do you think that Foo Fighters should have waited? Do you think that they should have waited, years later? Do you think they should have waited years later to get inducted? Do you think that Iron Maiden should have gotten in, like myself? Although that's probably never going to happen, unfortunately. Do you think that Devo should have gotten in? Do you think that Jay-Z should have gotten in? Well, he is in, but do you think he should have not gotten in? Do you think he shouldn't have gotten in? Is what I'm trying to say. This is all opinions, obviously, and this was my opinion on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you don't agree with it, that's totally fine, because we all have opinions, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't know when I'll post more videos, and I posted a feedback video last year. Oh my god, not last year, last month. I apologize for that. Last month I posted the feedback video asking, what do you want me to do? Not many people commented, only like 2 people commented, but they said, keep doing what you're doing, talk more, do more music rankings, and one person said, one of the 2 people said, do rankings on movies or video games. So I can definitely do that, and I kind of wish I did a movie ranking on Star Wars, because last week was May the 4th, and that feels like a total missed opportunity. So I wish I did that, and I have all the Star Wars movies over there. I have the box of both the originals and the prequels as one, and then I have the separate reboot movies, and I also have Rogue One and Solo Star Wars movie. I don't own Rise of Skywalker because I saw that in the theaters. I don't know if it was the day when I don't know if I saw it the day it came out, but if you can remember, that was right before COVID came and became a worldwide pandemic, and I didn't really get the movie. I'll have to pick it up sometime. Anyway, visit us on Instagram too. Follow us on Instagram. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, and if you have Instagram, please check us out. We don't really post a lot on the well, I don't really post a lot on Instagram. There's no we. I run the channel, or not the, or I run the account rather. But yeah, let me know what you'd like me to do. Music's my #1 passion. So as long as I keep doing music reviews, I'll love to do that. I can do a series on reviewing albums or, my favorite songs, top 10 or top 20 favorite songs from these bands. I can definitely do that if you want me to do that. Matter of fact, I actually started making lists I make lists a lot because that's what I like to do, but I make lists for my favorite bands and my favorite songs from those bands, so maybe I'll reveal them to YouTube one day. So visit us. I have trouble talking a lot. Visit us on Instagram. If you don't know what the Instagram account is, it's official. I think it's official.howbuska_YT. I think that's what it is. If you don't know what it looks like, it's the John Oliver. The profile picture is John Oliver blowing up the 2020 logo. We may change that in the future, or we may keep it because, hey, I think that John Oliver's funny, and I watched last week tonight. I'm a big fan. Anyway, that's off topic. So visit us on Instagram. Please leave a like, comment if you want, view my videos, and of course subscribe. Ring the bell also for notifications, for daily notifications. And the wind is just blowing outside, and enjoy the nice weather today. It's nice. Well, where I am, it's nice. I'm not going to reveal my location, obviously. So anyway, please leave a like, comment if you want, view my videos, and of course subscribe and ring the bell also. Thanks for watching this video, guys. This has been Howbuska, signing off. Stay safe, take care.